Well, in the wake of the devastating Eden fire that swept through Altadena, countless families and child care providers are grappling with unprecedented challenges. And now LA County Supervisor Holly Mitchell is announcing a new motion aimed at supporting the children, families, and daycare workers that are affected by this tragedy. And she joins me now live. Supervisor Mitchell, good morning. Happy President's Day to you. And thank you for taking some time out on this morning.
Thank you so much for having this conversation about a really important issue for working families and child care providers.
Listen, as a father of three, I understand how important childcare is for families and all that they're trying to do, trying to work, but also trying to keep the kids occupied, safe, and also learning as well. So let's get into this. The Eden fire has had a profound impact on the city and the Altadena community, particularly on childcare facilities. Could you share more about the specific challenges these childcare providers and family carers are facing? I looked at some numbers. Over 300 childcare facilities remain closed, specifically 37 of them destroyed because of these fires. Tell us more.
Well, and we actually, Kelvin, think those numbers might be higher. You know, when you think about child care, there's a multitude of ways in which children are provided care. The traditional child care center, child care family homes, and something we call family, friends, and neighbors. When a family member can take care of a child, a grandmother can take care of her grandchildren.
Right.
So when you think about how much of the child care services are provided in homes, we recognize the number of homes that were lost. We think those numbers may indeed grow. And so what I'm trying to do with this motion is making sure that particularly in the unincorporated community of Altadena, that LA County is doing all it can to make sure we streamline permitting processes, we expedite fire review, we expedite cleanup of facilities that weren't burned down but still need remediation.
I was just going to say, I know that you're putting this motion out there and is specifically trying to help, as we talked about, daycare owners, workers, and families. And you just highlighted a couple of things. Anything else that it will be able to do for those in that community, specifically in the child care arena?
You know, we also recognize that it's a huge industry. Many people, primarily women, are employed. And we've begun to hear from a variety of sources that they've been denied services from FEMA and all of the financial support programs that are available. So we want to make sure that they understand that these are home-based businesses and that they have the opportunity to find a new place to both live and perform their business for both the children they care for and their own economic well-being, that their materials that they use in their child care business are replaced. And so it's an economic issue and it's a child safety issue, and to allow families to go back to work with a level of comfort and confidence that their children are in a setting with a provider they know, that they are comfortable with as they manage their own trauma as well.
You know what makes
this motion is to help expedite the process so children can get back into settings that they know and are comfortable with.
Right. And, you know, Supervisor Mitchell, that's what you want. Especially these children are coming out of, many of them coming out of COVID, where they lost so much. They couldn't go to school. They lost time. They couldn't go to prom, or they couldn't do, things that kids have typically done. So coming out of that into then struggling with this, obviously making it more difficult. Let me ask you about this. Governor Gavin Newsom recently announced state assistance for child care providers. You mentioned right there trying to streamline. He's been vocal about trying to cut through the red tape, get straight to helping the families. How does this plan work with or build upon the help that you're trying to continue to give?
That's the absolute point. It's to build upon. The city of LA has already taken action, and so the county needs to do the same for the unincorporated communities that were impacted by the fire. So that's what we're trying to do. He's making resources available. So many of the licensure and approval process happens at the local level. So I want to make sure that LA County is streamlining our process, cutting through red tape, making sure that the facilities are safe for children to return, but that providers aren't, dealing with unnecessary bureaucratic red tape when we need to help them get back to work and our children get back to care.
You know, if there's even a small silver lining, Supervisor, that I think we've seen out of this is that maybe a lot of people, they know the city, Altadena, or the Altadena community, but maybe they didn't know about the rich history and the many historic sites that have been there, but also have been impacted with these fires. But people have been learning more and more. We here at Spectrum News 1 have been highlighting it. How does this motion help both the families, also local landmarks recover?
Well, it helps to rebuild the infrastructure of a community. A community is homes, schools, businesses, and childcare for those residents to be able to go to work and go to school. Child care decisions that parents make typically are about what's affordable and what's accessible. And so if we're going to rebuild a true community, the true fabric of a community, the child care infrastructure has to be a part of that. Park and Rec and so many facilities did great for school age kids so kids could return to school. But 0 to 5-year-olds, that doesn't apply to them. And so making sure that our child care infrastructure is a part of the rebuilding of the fabric of what truly makes a community a community.
You're right about that. And listen, I'll tell you what, like I mentioned, Altadena has been getting a lot of love and support from around this area, around the state, and really around the country. People have been reaching out and supporting, and we're going to make sure that we are part of the rebuild as well. Thank you so much, Supervisor Holly Mitchell, for joining us. It's great to see you as always.
Thanks, Kelvin. Appreciate you having me.